Hello, here is just a video about some stuff that's really been interesting me. Has interested me for very, very many years, in fact. It's a system of elemental combinations and their links to psychological archetypes, which was first started to be elucidated in the early 60s by a man who went by the name of Tammo de Jongh, or de Jongh, I'm not sure which it is, I think it's Tammo de Jongh. And there was also two other people whose names I can't remember. I will find them. But there was a mathematician and a historian, and they came together and they came up with a system. And Tammo was an artist and somebody possessed of quite extraordinary vision, really. He later changed his name to Anelog, which I believe is a Welsh name of some sort, and that's the very, very brief history of the system. Anyway, it is a system of, like I said, of the elements and the archetypes, and they're represented in a circle. There are 12 of them, and they are shown as being with different colors. So, without further ado, here is the sort of thing that we can see with the different archetypes, the different colors. Now, so I'll come up here. Up here, the yellow one up here, this is air and fire, and is often known as the magician, and is one of the cardinals. So this is the one that's most associated with air in many ways, you see. Now, if you go all the way down here, this is fire and air, and again is the cardinal of fire. We go over here. This is earth and water, and it's the cardinal of earth. And we call this one Mother Earth. This one we call the Jester or the Joker. Over here, Mother Earth. All the way over here is water and earth, which is the cardinal of water, and this one we call the Enchantress. So we see from that the four directions are the four cardinals: air at the top, fire at the bottom, earth to the left, water to the right. Magician, air and fire. Enchantress, water and earth. Joker, fire and air. Mother Earth, earth and water. Okay? Then we get the other combinations. Air and fire. Moving on, air and water, bringing in water and living fire behind, you see. So this one we call the Patriarch. As we bring in more water, so it switches over to water and air rather than air and water. This is the Child, which is also called by some the Angel. I'm tending to call it the Nymph myself. Yet more water, and now bringing in earth. Then we get the Enchantress. Bringing more fire and leaving earth behind, so we get water and fire. Here we get the Actress, which is a very passionate, expressive archetype. Bringing yet more fire, it swaps around to fire and water rather than water and fire. This is fire and water, and now it really, really, just like the Geezer just sort of like bursts forth from this one. This is the Fool archetype, and it is immensely creative, spontaneous, lively. And then over here we get more fire and bring in air again, as we said. So then we get the Jester, the Joker. This brings in like real fire, spirit. It breaks everything up. This is an extraordinary archetype. So anyway, this is the Jester. Bring in now, we get more earth coming into it. And this is fire and earth. And this is the Warrior. This is powerful, strong, willful, driving. It's one of the archetypes that we need to be effective in the world, absolutely. Now bring in more earth so that we get it swapping over. So we've got earth and fire rather than fire and earth. And we get this archetype here, a very receptive, accepting, deep archetype, very rich archetype. This used to be called, this was called the slave originally. Some people have called it the worker. I'm tending to call it the hearth priestess for my own reasons. This is a very, very deep energy in the body. And as I said, it's receptive, it's accepting, it's able to bear and able to accomplish so much. It's immensely productive. And it has a great wisdom in it, in fact. More earth, but this time bringing in water and leaving fire behind, and we get Mother Nature, earth and water. So, and this is a very, very nurturing archetype. This is very, very nurturing archetype here. Over there, that was water and earth, and that was the Enchantress. And that was, again, this is a very, very deeply emotional, deeply feeling archetype. It's very psychic. Tremendous well springs within it, very deep. Over here, Mother Earth. The fertile and the nurturing. Now, increase air, leave water behind. So we've got earth and air here. And this used to be called the Old Woman. It's also called the Matriarch. This is again, it's a very, very useful archetype. This archetype stores great wisdom in itself as well. It organizes, it controls, organizes, systematizes. It's highly methodical. Very, very useful, indispensable for dealing with all the intricacies of the world. Now increase the air so that we now have more air than earth. So this is air and earth, and there we get the observer. It's a very serene archetype. It's not attached, it's not affected, threatened, or anything else by what it observes. So it can see things dispassionately, it can simply observe and be uninvolved. And so it can give great peace in its own place. And then we return to the magician at the top, air and fire. So it is quite a thing, really. This whole circle of archetypes. Something to notice here, though, and this is from the work of someone called Bran Collingwood, who has been fantastic, the stuff he's come up with. Something that becomes clear from these archetypes, though, is, for instance, how the elements help each other. And you can see that most clearly is that air needs fire, and earth needs water. Air gives light and space, but without fire, it becomes empty, it becomes meaningless, it becomes destructive, it actually becomes inimical to meaning. It drains the meaning from things. But with fire, its life comes back, it gains meaning, and it balances. It becomes a much better form of air. Similarly with fire. Fire is life and spirit and vitality, but it needs the space of air. Otherwise it becomes constrained, it becomes ballistic, it becomes pressurized, it becomes dangerous. But give it space, and then it can actually express itself, and express itself safely and creatively. So they need each other. This one needs meaning, this one needs space. Now, coming onto the horizontal axis, here is Earth, the earth, it's the earth cardinal. It's actually earth and water in the archetype, but it's the earth cardinal. Now, what earth needs is depth. It's the depth of feeling and soul which comes from water. And what water needs is the nurturance and security of earth. They need each other. Water can get lost. Water can be lost. And what it needs is the containment of earth. Earth needs the depth of water. Water needs the containment of earth. They need each other. So here, fire needs the space of air. Water needs the containment of earth. I mean, these are the sort of relationships we get. Now, another thing to note is that these archetypes actually delineate journeys. There are two main kinds of journey which are shown in this circle. One is an outer journey which works in the outer world, and one is an inner journey which works in the inner world. The outer journey is shown in orange here. And the archetypes that it uses are closed archetypes. They are closed states. So we've got the warrior, which goes to the old woman, which goes to the patriarch, which goes to the actress, which goes back to the warrior. And this all works as a good cycle, you see. For instance, here is the patriarch that has a lot of systematized knowledge that he's got, and it turns into a teaching. The teaching inspires passion, inspires a kind of a passion of understanding. It inspires a passion for life, in a sense, and for what could be achieved. This goes over to the warrior, which puts things into practice. It actually takes action. It makes things happen. Nothing happens in the outside world without you using something like the warrior, without fire coming into it. Yeah. Now from that, it goes up to the matriarch, who basically assesses all of this, assesses the results of everything, systematizes it, integrates it into knowledge and into wisdom, the wisdom of experience. And then that feeds back to the patriarch again, that can then revise teachings on the basis of the wisdom of the experience. And so the cycle continues. Now the cycle has to go in that way, though. If it goes backwards, then you get into problems. For instance, the need to control of the matriarch is then enforced by the warrior, which then inflames feelings, which then in themselves, the feelings feed, the passion feeds the teachings of the patriarch rather than the wisdom from the old woman. So you see, it will all go backwards, and then this distorted teaching then leads back into the insecurities of the old woman and the matriarch, which then, etc., etc. It goes around. Whereas in fact it should go the other way, leading to wisdom, which leads to refined teaching, which leads to passion, which leads to action, which leads to assessment, wisdom, back to teaching. Now for the inner journey is shown in this blue here. Now the inner journey has to go counterclockwise. And we can see the sort of things we will get with the inner journey. If we have, like, say, the slave, the worker, the hearth priestess, this very embodied energy, this deep energy of the body, yeah, this very healthy, deep energy of the body, which is awakened, yeah. Now this leads to the life, the sense of vitality and life and spontaneity of the fool, and this fearlessness of the fool, which then goes into the openness and the visionary quality of the child, the angel, the nymph. And this leads to the peace. There's this deep peace and this capacity to see directly of the observer without threat, without concern. And this leads back into this deeply relaxed state of the body, this deeply relaxed, accepting state of the Hearth Priestess that can act as a foundation for things, leads into the life of the Fool, the spontaneity, coursing through everything, coursing through the inner world, leads to this vision, the vision of the child, the capacity to dream, to see. Over to the observer, the carrier of peace, that inward light of peace which is found inside, leads down to the deep relaxation and energy of the body, leads to the great, etc., etc. All that goes around like this. Now, what would happen if we go in the wrong direction? Well, let's see. If we put it in the wrong direction, then we've got the life of the Fool. Now that's going into the body, yeah. Then that's going into the sort of like so the energy is going into the body, building up more energy in the body. It's going into the head here, into the observer. Now, is that really going to make the observer's life that much easier? I don't know. Then we go over into the child. The child is then getting all this energy fed into it, and then see, it's somehow not working. It's somehow not working. I don't have quite the same. It's not quite as easy to see exactly what goes wrong with it this way. I'm just trying to see. No, I'm not seeing what goes wrong with it. I can see what goes right with it. I can't see what goes wrong with it. But it's not going to work the right way anyway, because the thing is, you'll be using a method designed for the outer world and the inner world, and they don't go by the same rules. That's the basic thing. They don't go by the same rules. They don't have the same needs. So where would it go? Where would it go wrong? Where would it go wrong? There isn't the energy of opening and relaxation and channeling which you would see in the counterclockwise direction. It's not working like that. It's just not working. That's the problem with it. It's not quite working. So anyway, it's something to meditate upon, and but you could probably see that it is a very fruitful system, and something for another video. These green lines are the ways that the archetypes help each other. So they are often considered to be either affirming or reconciling archetypes. But we'll go into that in another video. Hope you enjoyed this. It's well worth taking a look at. I'll leave some links in the description.